I cheated on my husband because I thought I deserved more, but when he found out, he took the kids, the house, and every piece of my future with him. The screenshot was still glowing on my phone when David walked into the bedroom. "Who is Jake?" he asked. My blood turned to ice. The text thread was right there. 3 months of messages. 3 months of lies. "It's not what you think," I said. He didn't even look at me. Just picked up the phone and started scrolling. I watched my marriage die in real time. 8 years. 2 kids. A house with a white picket fence that I used to love. Gone in 30 seconds of silence while my husband read every dirty text I'd sent to another man. "Pack a bag," he said finally. "You have an hour." I want to tell you this story started with him ignoring me. That he stopped trying. That our marriage was already dead. But that would be a lie. The truth is uglier. The truth is I threw away everything good because Instagram told me I should want more. David wasn't perfect. He worked long hours at the accounting firm. He forgot anniversaries sometimes. He fell asleep during movies. But he was a good man. A good father. He brought me coffee every morning. He still opened car doors. He told me I was beautiful even when I felt invisible. The problem wasn't David. The problem was me. It started with social media. Watching other women post about their passionate relationships. Their surprise trips to Paris. Their husbands who wrote poetry and planned elaborate date nights. My friends didn't help. Girls' nights became complaint sessions about our boring husbands. How we'd settled. How we deserved grand gestures and endless romance. "You're too young to feel this old," my friend Mia would say. "Life is short. You should feel alive." I started believing I was missing out. That somewhere out there was a life more exciting than school pickups and grocery runs and quiet evenings watching Netflix. That's when Jake started commenting on my photos. He was everything David wasn't. Spontaneous. Flirty. He made me feel seen in a way I'd forgotten was possible. "Your husband is lucky," he'd write. "I hope he knows what he has." The compliments felt like oxygen. I started posting more. Wearing makeup to the grocery store. Hoping Jake would notice. When he slid into my DMs, I told myself it was harmless. "Just talking," I said when the guilt crept in. "Nothing wrong with having a friend." But I was lying to myself. Every text was a betrayal. Every secret smile at my phone was me choosing Jake over my family. I started hiding. Password protecting everything. Creating fake social media accounts. Living 2 lives. At home, I was going through the motions. Making dinner. Helping with homework. Pretending to care about David's work stories. But inside, I was somewhere else. Planning what I'd say to Jake. Counting hours until I could text him back. I stopped seeing my children. Really seeing them. They became obstacles between me and my phone. "Mommy, can you help me?" my 6-year-old daughter would ask. "In a minute, honey," I'd say, typing another message to a man who wasn't her father. I justified everything. David didn't appreciate me. He took me for granted. I was just a mom and a wife, never just me. Jake made me feel like a woman again. Desired. Interesting. Alive. "You deserve so much more," he'd text. "You deserve to be worshipped." I ate it up. Every lie. Every empty promise. Every validation from a man who didn't know my middle name or how I liked my coffee. The first time we met in person, I told David the first was going shopping with Mia. Instead, I drove 30 minutes to a hotel bar. My hands shook the entire way. Jake was shorter than his photos. Older. He ordered 3 drinks before I finished one. But when he looked at me, I felt electric. When he touched my hand, I felt like I was starring in my own movie. "This is crazy," I said. "Good crazy," he replied. We talked for 2 hours. About dreams. About feeling trapped. About deserving more from life. He made me feel understood in a way David never did. Or maybe I just stopped letting David try. Nothing happened that night. Just talking. Just the promise of something more. But I was already gone. I drove home to my sleeping family and felt nothing but resentment. This house felt like a prison. These people felt like strangers. The second meeting, we kissed in his car. The third meeting, we got a room. I told myself David would never find out. That this was just for me. That I deserved this one thing after years of putting everyone else first. I compartmentalized like a master. Soccer games and affair texts. Bedtime stories and hotel receipts. Family dinners and lies about working late. For 3 months, I lived in a fantasy. Jake told me he was unhappy too. That his wife didn't understand him. That maybe we could build something real together. I started planning. Imagining a different life. One where I was the main character instead of the supporting cast. I got sloppy. Left my phone unlocked. Forgot to delete messages. Came home smelling like another man's cologne. David never said anything. Never asked questions. He just started watching me differently. Like he was solving a puzzle. The night he found the messages, I'd been at Jake's apartment. We talked about me leaving David. About him leaving his wife. About starting over together. Soon, he'd said. I just need to figure out the timing. I believed him. I believed every word from a man who'd been feeding me the same lines he probably used on every lonely housewife who crossed his path. I came home floating. Ready to end my marriage. Ready to blow up my children's lives for a man who saw me as entertainment. But David was waiting. With my phone. With the truth. With 8 years of marriage crumbling in his hands. How long? He asked. 3 months, I whispered. He nodded like he already knew. Like he'd been counting the days I'd been slipping away. Do you love him? I wanted to say no. Wanted to beg for forgiveness. Wanted to fall to my knees and promise it would never happen again. Instead, I said the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. I think so. David set down my phone and walked out of the room. When I followed him downstairs, he was on his laptop. Probably Googling divorce lawyers. Probably calculating child support. Probably planning a life without me. David, please. We can fix this. He looked up at me like I was a stranger. No, he said quietly. We can't. That was 6 months ago. I haven't seen my children since. Jake stopped answering my calls the day David filed for divorce. This is getting too complicated, he texted. Maybe we should take a break. A break. 3 months of promises and he wanted a break the second my marriage actually ended. I called him 17 times that night. Each call went straight to voicemail. By morning, he'd blocked me everywhere. The man I destroyed my family for disappeared like smoke. David moved fast. Lawyers. Custody hearings. Asset division. He approached our divorce like a business transaction. Cold. Efficient. Final. My children wouldn't look at me at the custody hearing. Emma, my 6-year-old, held David's hand and hid behind his legs when I tried to talk to her. Why did you hurt Daddy? She whispered. I had no answer. How do you explain to a child that mommy thought she deserved more than the family that loved her? The judge awarded David full custody. I got supervised visitation twice a month. 2 hours. Twice a month. With a stranger watching to make sure I don't damage my children any further. My lawyer said I was lucky to get that much. Adultery doesn't play well in family court, she explained. Especially when there's evidence of emotional neglect. Emotional neglect. That's what they call those months I chose my phone over my kids. Those bedtime stories I rushed through. Those soccer games I attended but didn't really watch. The house sold in 3 weeks. David took the kids and moved across town. Somewhere I'd never been. Somewhere I wasn't welcome. I moved in with my parents at 34 years old. My childhood bedroom. My high school posters. My mother's disappointed sighs every time I walked downstairs. How could you do this to those babies? She asked me once. I started crying and couldn't stop for 6 hours. My friends disappeared one by one. Mia, who'd encouraged me to live my life, stopped returning my calls when the gossip started spreading. I can't be associated with this drama, she texted. It's not good for my reputation. The other school moms whispered when they saw me at Target. Their children played with my children. Had sleepovers at my old house. Lives that continued without me. I was persona non grata in the life I'd built. Work became unbearable. David had told his business partner everything. Word spread through our small professional community like wildfire. The cheating wife. That's what I became. I took a job at a call center 40 minutes away. Minimum wage. No one knew my story there. Every day, I drove past my old life. The school where I used to volunteer. The grocery store where David and I did our weekly shopping. The park where we taught our kids to ride bikes. I was a ghost haunting my own existence. The supervised visits were torture. 2 hours in a sterile room with a social worker taking notes while my children acted like polite strangers. Emma drew pictures of her new bedroom. Her new school. Her new friends. Daddy says we might get a dog, she told me. I smiled and said that sounded wonderful while my heart shattered into smaller pieces. My son, Marcus, barely spoke. At 8, he understood more than Emma did. He knew mommy had made choices that hurt Daddy. That broke their family. That made everything different. Are you coming home soon? Emma asked during one visit. The social worker shot me a warning look. Mommy lives somewhere else now, I said carefully. But I love you so much. Why don't you live with us anymore? How do you answer that? How do you tell your child that you chose a fantasy over reality? That you traded your family for 3 months of text messages from a man who didn't even bother to learn their names? I tried therapy. Talked about feeling unfulfilled. About losing myself in motherhood. About deserving more from life. You made a choice, my therapist said finally. Now you have to live with the consequences. Those consequences followed me everywhere. David remarried 8 months after our divorce was final. A kindergarten teacher named Sarah who baked cookies and braided Emma's hair and showed up to Marcus's baseball games. I saw the wedding photos on Facebook before David blocked me there too. My children in new clothes. Smiling with their new stepmom. Living their best lives without me. I tried to reach out. Sent letters through David's lawyer. Begged for more time with the kids. Promised I'd changed. The response was always the same: my client has no interest in expanding visitation at this time. I drove by their new house once. Just to see where my children lived now. To catch a glimpse of the life they'd built in the wreckage of my choices. Sarah was pushing Emma on a swing set in the backyard. Marcus was throwing a ball with David. They looked like a commercial for happiness. I sat in my car and sobbed until a neighbor called the police. "Ma'am, you need to move along," the officer said gently. "This is considered stalking." Stalking my own children? That's what I'd become. The worst part isn't the loneliness. It isn't living with my parents or working a dead-end job or being the cautionary tale at every book club in town. The worst part is understanding, finally, what I had and what I threw away. David wasn't perfect, but he was mine. He was present. He was faithful. He was building a life with me while I was busy planning my escape from it. My children weren't obstacles to my happiness. They were my happiness. I just couldn't see it through the fog of my own selfishness. Jake wasn't my soulmate. He was a predator who told lonely wives exactly what they wanted to hear. I was just another mark in a game I didn't even know I was playing. I see that now. When it's too late to matter. Emma is 7 now. She has a gap-toothed smile in her school photos and calls Sarah Mom. Marcus plays Little League with a stepfather who shows up to every game. They've built a life that doesn't include me. Not really. I'm a footnote now. A cautionary tale they'll tell their friends when they're older. Our real mom cheated on our dad, they'll say. She chose some random guy over us. And they'll be right. I thought I deserved more than what I had. Turns out what I had was everything. And now I deserve exactly what I got. Nothing.